Hello, my name is Jenny Rose Carey. We're here at Northview Gardens in Ambler, Pennsylvania, and I'm here to give you a tour around of a part of the garden. And I wish we could be in England and I could show you a real English garden, but this is an English-inspired garden, and I want to show you some of the features that I think make it in that sort of category. We're starting here in the cutting garden, which is a garden obviously for flowers and cut flowers, which is enclosed. And that's one of the best things about many English gardens, is they have a sense of enclosure. So whether it's a hedge, a stone wall, a brick wall, or a wooden fence of some sort. And many English gardens are very small, so this might be the whole size of your English garden. But they garden very intensively, very packed in, and full of flowers, fruit and vegetables, all in the same garden. So we call it cottage garden style, but I think you can garden in this style whether you have a cottage or whether you have a castle. So this garden, you can see, has foxgloves, it has poppies, and then in the path, because I can't help myself and I don't want to weed them out, are things like the silenes, the Lychnis coronaria and the daisies. But it's a small garden, but we produce a lot of tulips in here, and then later on it will be dahlias or dahlias and zinnias and things like that. So its primary focus is for cutting flowers, and the Brits do happen to love their cutting flowers. So I'll pull the gates shut because we have lots of varmints, including rabbits and things like that. So we're making our transition from that garden room through a sort of cooler part in the shade, and that's another thing that you'll find in all of the English gardens. Even if it's very tiny, they'll have some sort of a tree, some sort of a shrub to make a little bit of shade. So we're making a stop here at a little garden that is a repurposing garden, and that's another thing I think you find a lot in English gardens. We lost a tree here, it fell down in a storm, so we just left the hole in the ground and have planted it up, and I thought it was a perfect place to make a gnome home. And as you know, every English garden has to have its gnome. So this is again, it's another little incident as you walk around the larger garden. And I find that gardening in a small space, each one has its own particular palette of flowers that I work out which things will grow well together, and then intensively garden in that area, and then have this intermezzo of green space between one garden area and the next that allows you to sort of have a breath and until you get to the next floral extravaganza. And this is our a bit of our grass. We don't have in this area we don't have much grass, but in England, as you all know, the grass is the pride and joy, and it is very manicured. In Pennsylvania we have very thuggish grass, and we have clover and plantains and things like that, and so that's the type of grass that we have here. The next garden that we are coming up to is another colourful garden that is mulched with gravel, and this garden was inspired by one of my gardening heroines from England, Beth Chatto. She gardens in Essex, which is one of the driest parts of England, and it is I think they get 17 inches of rain a year. We get 47 inches of rain a year. So I thought, well, there's no reason why we can't have a garden where you don't water it at all. So in 2004 I designed this garden, and it has not been watered since that time. And I've actually have to go in and pull out a lot of different plants because everything is so successful. So you see some Thermopsis, Eramurus, Asclepias, the rose campion, yarrows, sedums, all kinds of campanula, all eryngiums, all in this garden, and they grow without any additional water whatsoever. By dividing the garden up into these different spaces, you can give a theme to each area, and you can give a set of plants that grow in that particular type of conditions, so whether it's sun or shade, wet or dry. So we're coming up to another area that is much wetter because it collects the runoff coming down another piece of lawn, and so we've installed a few ponds in here, and this has been the best way to encourage wildlife. I do try and grow things as sustainably as possible, So this wet area, we look for things that will take that wet condition. Beyond it is a shed, and as you know, the Brits love their sheds. That's where I keep my garden tools in there. And the pond encourages, we have snapping turtles, frogs, you can hear that frog going, and snakes and all kinds of different animals. So really, I garden with no pesticides, no herbicides, and I hand weed. I also use a weed burner. Coming up through here, one thing that was inspired by the garden Sissinghurst in Kent, I grew up in Kent, is this thyme lawn. And it started off in a gravel patch right here, and it's crept out over the paving slabs, and you can walk on it and it releases a lovely aroma. Coming into the next garden was the first garden that I installed here 24 years ago. It's the herb and vegetable garden. To the right are raspberries, to the left are blackberries, there are gooseberries, there are red currants, and my compost heap, which is definitely a part of every English garden. And you can see the axis which leads up through the garden to the kitchen window. So it's nice, symmetrical, but within the symmetrical beds are these overflowing, abundant plantings. So we have all kinds of vegetables we grow in here, lots of herbs, and then of course the foxglove pops up, and I haven't got the heart to take it out. So there's feverfew, there's roses that grow right up into the top of the shrubs, there's valerian, there's kale, there's leeks, chives, calendula, all the different types of things. So it really is, it's sort of a very personal garden, and I think that's what British gardens tend to be. And of course, since my middle name is Rose, I have to have roses like this one called Ispahan. Smells delightful. I wish I could let you smell that. And it's a once bloomer. It has its roots in the compost heap, so it's very, very happy. I think that whole notion of feeding the soil is so important to how I garden, and I tip the compost heap out and then all the plants are very happy. So I hope you've enjoyed this little slice of Northview Gardens, which is sort of English inspired, I would say. And I hope at some point you get to come and visit me here yourself, and I'll show you all of the other parts of the garden. See you soon.